From Stand Up for News. We're stand-up comics and we tell the news. The news doesn't have any legs and can't stand up for its own self. Join us and special guests like local hero comics like Donnie Stopa, all the way to legends like Tommy Chong. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on WTAN Radio.
Hello, this is the one and only Robbie the Shark. I want to welcome you to the new program, All Groovy, man. I just want a bunch of folks in front of my porch. Let's have a Coca-Cola, a sweet tea, or whatever your drink of flavor is, and let's just talk about life and how far we've come on the only 1340 WTAN 10 Talk Radio Network.
It's All Groovy with Robbie the Shark, Thursdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Listen at your own risk.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Bria, and you are in Sci-Fi Hour at Joy on Paper Radio. I am so pleased to fill in for Patsy Gill, your regular host, and we've got Big Ed in the studio helping me out in the control room, and I'm so thankful for all his help. And for those listening, this show, Joy on Paper, is for writers, those who dream of writing, and those who want to hear the story behind the book. So today we have two incredible authors coming on to chat with us about science fiction. And our first guest, his name is, Lewis Knight, and he has got this incredible universe called Haven World. And I'm so excited to talk to him in just a moment. We are going to start by playing a book buzz that I was able to do for one of his novels that's we're going to be talking about today. So go ahead, Big Ed, with that book buzz. Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's communique to galaxies near and far includes a 2021 release in print and ebook, Vigil, Inferno Season, Book 2 in the Cyberknight Saga by Bard Constantine. Readers who start with Vigil, Book 1, will discover how the Cataclysm caused the end of the world as Hellraiser soldier Jet Wolf knew it, and follow his transformation into high-tech hero Vigil. Now that you've had your briefing, let's download the book buzz. In a sinister dystopian future that blends the noir, superhero, and cyberpunk genres, a man out of time fights behind a mask in the crime-ridden streets of New York, where corrupt and brutal villains, robots with electrolasers, and synthoid clones roam. 300 years after Jet Wolf fell into cryosleep, he awakens and stumbles into a society split in two. Haven Core is a closed-off dome for the elites, and all others scrape a living on the outside, where crime lords and gangs rule largely unchecked. When we pick up in Book 2, Vigil pairs up with Spitfire, a street-smart teenager who joins his growing team to battle Diabolus, a trifecta of crime syndicates dealing in stolen memories, the latest drug craze at the Haze Parlors. The trail leads Vigil and his team deep into the underbelly, an abyss beneath a city where nothing is as it seems. This masterful neo-pulp mashup with jaw-dropping twists would be one binge-worthy television series if the right producer picks it up. My casting choice for Vigil would be between Henry Simmons, aka Mac from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Mike Coulter, who played Luke Cage in the Netflix series and currently stars in CBS's Evil. Bard Constantine is a pen name for Alabama author Lewis Knight, a self-described neo-pulp author who writes genre-blended, action-oriented pulp fiction with a kick. People come for the action and stay for the appealing characters. This is Bria Burton with your futuristic fiction fix, signing off. Okay, and Lewis, we've got you on the line. How are you doing today?
I am doing good, Bria. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's so great to talk to you and to have you back on the show. We've actually had you before, and I'm so thrilled that you could come back on now that I've got in my hands. I'm going to hold it up for those watching on the YouTube live stream. I've got your Phase 1 omnibus, I'm going to say this word properly, of Haven World, which includes Vigil, the Knight in Cyber Armor, which was such a fun novel to read, and the sequel as well. So as I'm looking at this, what inspired you to take several of your novels, because you have several novels all set in the same universe, what inspired you to put them all together in an omnibus?
Well, it was really just trying to get a collection to make sure that readers knew that all of these stories take place in the same universe, which is Haven World. So it's basically different stories, even different genres.
Yes.
Where you could have cyberpunk, you could have Weird West, you could have superhero action, and all these different types of stories and characters, but have them all loosely connected because they take place in the same world.
So let's talk a little bit about Haven World, just that broader universe. So how would you introduce someone who's never read any of your books yet? But I'm hoping we're going to have some readers who are going shopping after this show. So how would you introduce them to what is Haven World?
Yeah, so Haven World is basically it's a post-apocalyptic type world, but not quite in a way like Walking Dead or anything where everything's just completely wiped out. But it takes place after a cataclysm that basically restructured things so that America and the world in large had to rebuild afterwards. But what happened basically is that most of the people survived in havens, which are basically constructs that were used as arcs for a word, which was basically storing away. And you've seen this in various types of science fiction, whether it's the Silo series or right now Fallout, super popular. So readers would be familiar with the type of setting that it is. But in this case, it allowed me to explore different regions where these characters live and the types of adventures that they encounter as they negotiate this Haven World.
I love it. It just what you mentioned of all the different genres that you can find in this one omnibus, and you call it Phase 1. So tell me, what is Phase 2 in the works? Is there going to be a next omnibus when you have enough of the next set of novels that you'll put together? Are you already working on that?
Yeah. Phase 2 is going to be the next collection. But what I've done now is taking a look at readers' habits, right? And while I was trying to introduce these series in a way, say like Marvel did when they first started launching their MCU, was that you had different movies, each involving different characters, but they were all connected so that you could have a Phase 1, a Phase 2.
Yes.
But in this case, what I noticed after launching Phase 1 was that readers really want to see completed series, though. So Phase 2 will be a more gradual thing because I'm going to, what the plan is now is to complete each series separately and then collect them afterwards. So right now, the concentration is on the Vigil series because at the moment that's the most popular series out of this omnibus. So I'll be working on getting Vigil Part 3, Volume 3 is going to be out hopefully later on this year, like in the fall, winter time.
I cannot wait to talk to you about that book. I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so fascinating too, that putting this out helped you gauge where readers were focused right now and okay, you've got this out there. Now you can focus where you know the readers are eager to see what's coming next. So what an incredible thing as an author to be able to see that and see where to move and where to focus. And have you found that as you're jumping between genres, so you've got the cyberpunk, you've got the weird Western, you've got some of these more dystopian type feel. So how, as a writer, how do you navigate through all these different genres? Is there like cyberpunk day for you and then you got to move into something different or spend several months in one genre before you move to another? Or can you seamlessly go back and forth writing between the genres?
With Haven World, I can pretty much seamlessly go back and forth. And that's because of the fact that I know the world that they're all in. So because of that, it allows me to just jump from, say, the Vigil series to the Gunner Chronicles series. It's not a problem. Matter of fact, some of the locations even intersect. There's a segment in the B-Team novel where they stop at an old dusty town, and that's the exact same town that the entire Gunner Chronicles novel takes place in. So there's little Easter eggs like that that's littered throughout these stories, and it kind of connects them without having to have somebody read all of the different books in order to understand.
Yes, and that's what a gift as an author to be able to drop those Easter eggs, and then it's like it's an award for the reader who does decide, I'm going to read all of these, and then they can pick up on those different things and make the connections. Going back to Vigil, I had so much fun reading books 1 and 2. I know I told you this last time we talked, I could not wait till you got book 3 out. So I'm really excited that you're going to be getting book 3 out. We're definitely going to need you back when that happens. What does the writing process look like for you right now? Are you in late stages of drafting that novel? Are you already completed with it and just editing?
No, actually, I'm at a point right now where I'm trying to finish a fantasy novel because that's half of what I do, right? Half is fantasy, and I've got a series called Shadow Battles, where I'm in 3 novels in. I'm working on the 3rd novel right now, and I'm nearly completed with that. So once I complete this 3rd novel, I'm going to take a break. The fantasy writing is so dense, and it takes so much time to create these worlds because you have to, start everything from scratch. You have to build everything from scratch.
Right. Yes.
That once I finish with this 3rd novel of this fantasy series, then I'm going to jump right into the 3rd novel of the Vigil series.
Okay.
And that's going to be a lot faster. It's going to be a lot faster to write because it just takes less to dive back into that world.
And are you more of a planner, or, as I think it's George R.R. Martin who says, architect is the planner, does the outline, versus the gardener or pantser? Which would you categorize yourself as?
I'm definitely a planner now. I do outline. So I do a general outline, and this is so that I don't get lost, right? Because it's easy to get lost when you're just pantsing it, or when you're just, like they say, stream of consciousness writing. It's easy to put yourself in corners. At least for me, it's easy to put myself in corners. It's easy to kind of take detours that kind of lead you, to all kinds of different places. So now, in the last probably 5 novels that I've done, I've outlined it first from start to finish. And even like in this latest fantasy novel, then I outline where each character is going to be. And in that way, I keep it all together. And, like I said, don't get lost in the process.
And this speaks, I think, to how prolific you are with how many novels you've gotten out there. You're able to put them all together in an omnibus, and working on your fantasy series also. You have got a lot on your plate as a writer, but it's incredible for the reader. It's an incredible gift. And as you mentioned, working on book 3 of Vigil, it sounds like you've got a timeline and you set yourself. Am I correct that you are an independent publisher? You're indie versus traditionally published with all of these novels?
That's right. Yeah.
And so you set your own deadlines. You set up your own, okay, here's when I'm intending to publish. And by now, I'm guessing you have a pretty good idea of how long it takes you to write and complete one of your novels and get it out there for the world.
Yeah, a pretty general idea. Like I said, I meant to have this fantasy novel published last year, but it's grown into such a beast right now that it's taken longer than expected. But that's also a good thing because there's so much that's going into it. And that's just kind of part of the process of writing, is that, like I've got a general idea. Sometimes things change, but like in the process of writing visual, I know that there's going to be a probably 6 to 8 month window of writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it'll be editing, and then I'll be able to put that out because I've got a really good idea of exactly where that story is going. I've already basically done the outline in my head, and it's going to be a very fast-paced, hard-hitting novel because of the build-up.
I would expect, I would expect no less because the first 2 novels are just that hard-hitting, fast-paced, lots of action, lots of characters, and to just get the reader a little bit of a picture. Vigil is a little bit part Batman, a little bit, superhero. He has this suit where he can, which is where the Batman comparison comes in, where he has a lot of his high-tech gadgets and stuff. And then he has a sidekick. He's got, connections with the police force, and then these real sinister enemies that are kind of destroying New York. And so from the underbelly, basically. So that's kind of the picture of the knight in cyber armor for the listener. And I will say it's one of those book series that I just couldn't put down. And when it was over, I just thought, I can't wait for book 3. And so as you're getting feedback from readers and you're working on these next things, how do you find different marketing avenues, for example? So if there's authors listening and they're thinking, I've got a book and I'd love to get reader feedback, what are some of the ways that you market yourself? Now, I am going to answer my own question because I want you to talk about this. On your Instagram, you have some incredible art. Will you just start by talking a little bit about the artwork and what that is and how you market that way?
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce some controversy here because I use
That's okay. We're okay with controversy.
Right. I use an AI program called Midjourney to basically create that art. So I'm not an artist, obviously. So Midjourney has allowed me, however, to be able to imagine art the way that it appears in my head, as far as characters, as far as scenes from the book, and that's what I use to post to my social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and be able to share those with readers. So people's opinions on AI art, as we differ now, and there's been a lot of conversation about it.
There are a lot of opinions, right?
Right. But this isn't trying to make a profit or anything off of these things, but it's simply another way to bring the work alive and be able to share with the readers. And I know that I've gotten a lot of feedback from the readers that it looks like how they imagined it in their own minds and things like that. And, just being able to share these moments and characters is really helpful.
And just as sci-fi authors, the fact that you have a tool that's an AI, generative AI, and a lot of the topics in this Haven World Omnibus are about things like AI and what the future looks like. I'm thinking about the very first novel in here called Silent Empire. And the main character, when you first enter this novel, it's he's coming out of almost a dream, but he's being told, wake up. And the voice is telling him what to do. And everybody, remains silent because that's how society is now. And you don't question things and blah, blah. And so entering into a future that looks a little bit Orwellian. And so I think it's so fascinating, the dichotomy of being an author today, a sci-fi author with these topics that we're writing about, and then having it real world tie-ins with things like the question about AI art. Is it a tool? Is it ruining things for artists? Like, that's the debate, right? And so as people are listening, I hope that they know there is just so much value in reading science fiction like yours. And you just have this incredible gift as a writer. Crafting your writing craft is just so impressive and drawing the reader in to these worlds. So would you say when you started putting the books together in this series, there's a little front part that says what each book is, you actually excluded certain books, and I want to say it's the Troubleshooter. Tell me about that one. That one I think I know a little bit about. Is like a noir type.
Right, exactly. And actually, Troubleshooter is where it all started. And the only reason why that I excluded it is because it was its own series. And that series is actually complete. It's a 4-book series, and it's got its own omnibus.
Okay.
So that's why I didn't include it in this omnibus. But the Troubleshooter series is definitely leans into that pulp. And, that pulp aspect, like a modern day Dick Tracy in a dystopian future. And that's where I first created the concept of Haven World, because the entire series takes place in just one haven, and it's called New Haven. And you just follow this private eye character and all of the adventures that he goes on, all these strange and very pulp-oriented type of characters. And it was a lot of fun to write. It's a pulp adventure. It's a private eye series. It's got some cyberpunk. It's got some diesel punk. It definitely follows that flavor.
It's got all the sci-fi twists in there, so that definitely feeds into it. And so for readers listening, they can actually go get the whole Troubleshooter omnibus. They can get your Haven World Phase 1 omnibus, and then the next omnibus I'm sure will be coming. And then all of these novels, I'm guessing, but I'll let you correct me if I'm wrong, all available as individual novels as well, ebook.
That's right. That's right. So they're all individualized. So you could, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can either get a collection, or you can just start just one book at a time. Just find one of these series that you're interested in, because you've got like the Sin City story, where it's basically talking about tech addiction is the focus of that story. And
tech addiction, that is quite a topic too. Yeah.
Right. And so that's more of a Matrix style story, or you can get the Gunner Chronicles, which is Weird West. It's basically like a Clint Eastwood type story set in a Walking Dead type of world, except it's Western. So it's just so many different things where you can start, or you can get a collection. You can get an entire series, like in the Troubleshooter, and just go to town.
I love it. And so for those who would want to follow you, for example, on your Instagram, check out your artwork that you're doing there. What is the handle that they could look for you?
Yeah. So my handle is my name with 2 underscores. So it's Lewis _Knight. Lewis _KNIGHT.
Right, Knight, like KNIGHT. Yep. And is that also the same handle for like Facebook and all the other social media, or do you have different handles between your social?
Yeah, so Facebook is also going to be under my name, Lewis Knight. You should be able to just type that in the search, and I should pop right up.
Okay, awesome. And is there a website where people can check out everything that you've got as well?
Yep. So I've got that too. And that's found under Night Vision Books. That's my independent publishing.
Yes. Okay. Night Vision Books with the KNIGHT. Mm-hmm.
KNI. Yep.
And
so nightvisionbooks.com.
And do you sell your books directly from your site, or the links send them to where you can get the different booksellers?
Yeah. So all the books are there at the site. If you click on any of them, it'll take you to a link where you can purchase them in any format. So it's not strictly Amazon. It's not even strictly ebook.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy them in print. You can buy them in ebook format for whatever reader that you have, or whether it's Apple, whether it's Kindle, or just whatever you have.
Awesome. Yes. And I must say, I'm so glad I have the print. I'm holding up again for the watchers on YouTube channel. I love having a print book in hand. That's me personally. I do read Kindle as well, because it is quite convenient when you're traveling and you can just shove it in your pocket. But there is just something to be said about the written word. And having this omnibus, I don't have to stop. I got to just keep going after each one. So I just love it. I love the extra that readers can get with these different options, things that authors can do. So, Lewis, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you again. And I do want to have you back when that third Vigil book comes out. I can't wait to read it. I'll definitely do my book buzz for it when I get a chance to read it. So best of luck as you're working on that and your other writing. And thank you again for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Take care now. Bye-bye.
All right.
And we're headed to commercial break, and we will be back with Daniel Schwabauer.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration? Looking for something that will intrigue you? Then this book is for you. Jim Lamb's poems start out as caterpillars, creepy, crawly, and raw. Then a miracle happens as they transform into colorful, bright, and conspicuous works of art. You can find Jim's new book of poetry, Hurting Butterflies, at Amazon.com. It's the perfect gift for the book lover in your life, even if it's you. Hurting Butterflies, the perfect holiday gift, available on Amazon. Get Hurting Butterflies.
Do you dread being called on to speak at meetings or family functions? Have you envied those who can sway an audience with well-chosen words? Do you know that people who speak well earn more money, earn more rewarding careers? Gain the confidence to master any speaking situation. Toastmasters will allow you to find your voice. Go to toastmasters.org to locate the club nearest you.
Are you an author, an artist, an inventor? Then you need to protect your valuable intellectual property. You need Larson & Larson. We have the experience and knowledge to help you with all of your legal needs, from processing trademark, copyright, or patent applications to negotiating licensing agreements and handling litigation. The attorneys at Larson & Larson in Largo, Florida can help protect you. Call us today for a no-cost consultation at 727-546-0660 or visit our website at larsonpatentlaw.com.
Have you ever faced disaster? The Red Cross is always there for you. The Red Cross responds to a call for help every 8 seconds. They have never turned anyone down. Now they need your financial support so that they can be ready to help you when the need arises. Donate online at redcross.org. Thank you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, we're back for the last part of the hour of Sci-Fi Hour with Joy on Paper Radio. And we just had an awesome conversation with Lewis Knight. And now we have our next guest. It's Daniel Schwabauer. And we're going to be talking about his book, Maxine Justice, Galactic Attorney. If it sounds fun, it is. I can't wait to talk to him all about it. We're going to start with a 2-minute book buzz, and then we'll get Daniel on the line. Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's communique to galaxies near and far includes a 2022 sci-fi novel with a heavy dose of humor. Maxine Justice, Galactic Attorney by Daniel Schwabauer, with stellar narration by Amy Lilly. Now, let's download the book buzz. Maxine Justice, LLC, had no intention of taking on 2 crackpot clients who claimed to be aliens from another world, delivering a fountain of youth serum to heal humanity's ailments. They're asking to receive a percentage of Earth's gold, and they give Maxine enough money to solve all her current financial woes. So she finds an only somewhat shady lab to determine if their claim to a healing serum has any merit. Because Maxine has also managed to pick a fight with one of the largest law firms in the city, the same firm that had unjustly fired her and left her scrambling to make ends meet, she'd been forced to take cases at the night court where she suspected the robot judge had been bought and paid for. With the offer of a new 6-figure retainer, she can put all that behind her, except she refuses to leave behind one poor client who's been unjustly targeted by the law firm. When the lab reports back unbelievable findings on the serum, Maxine heads south of the border to see for herself. An attacker steals her evidence, stashes her inside an old church, and she realizes she may be caught up in a tangled web of galactic proportions. This fast-paced novel pairs courtroom drama with page-turning mystery while delivering high doses of tongue-in-cheek and laugh-out-loud humor. Author Daniel Schwabauer studied under science fiction great James Gunn before graduating with honors from Kansas University's master's program in creative writing in 1995. His military sci-fi novel, Operation Grendel, explores themes of propaganda and artificial intelligence during a galactic war. This is Bria Burton with your Futuristic Fiction Fix, signing off. And we've got Daniel on the line. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming back to Joy on Paper.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
And I can't help it. I always have to talk to people about Operation Grendel. So that was the first book of yours that I read, which just mind-blowing ending. And I always want to mention it to let people know, start there, and then we're going to move into the next one. But I enjoyed that book so much. And I got the privilege of meeting you at the Realm Makers Writers Conference last year in St. Louis. And so that was really fun as well. And so you had this other book, and I thought, okay, I've got to pick up his next book. It's not in the same universe or anything, but pretty much you sold me. Anything you write, I will probably be picking up when you put it out there. So Maxine Justice.
Very kind of you.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And so I had so much fun reading this book. It is just a blast. It's got, I mean, literally, she blasts off at different points. So as we're going to jump in here, tell me a little bit about the idea behind. So we went from Operation Grendel is military sci-fi. There's a propaganda. There's a psyop. There's a journalist off trying to find out the truth. So then we've got an attorney who gets a very interesting proposition from people claiming to be aliens. Where did you come up with this idea? Was it just one of those percolating in your mind, or was something specific triggering that idea?
Yeah, this actually was a couple things going on. The first thing was I had this idea about space aliens trying to take over Earth, but using more like a court system rather than tripods or lasers or something.
Yes,
and I just couldn't make it work. I mean, I had this idea going back into the late 90s, I think.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started out as a short story idea, and I knew that it wasn't working. And so I just kind of abandoned it. And after Operation Grendel, which is, as you pointed out, a much different novel in terms of the heaviness of it in some ways. Like, it's taken a pretty deep subject in propaganda and all of that. And I really wanted to do something more fun. And so I was talking to my daughter, who's an avid reader and wonderful kind of beta reader for me. And I was telling her the idea of this short story that I had a long time ago. And she said, well, why in the world would you make that about why would the central character be a guy? Wouldn't it work better as a woman? And as soon as she said that, I went, it was like all the penny dropped. Everything I needed in the story started to just explode in my brain. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it, but the quirkiness of the character, the humor aspect, it all just kind of came together, and I had so much fun writing that novel. I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but whenever I talk about it, I tell people that I basically sat down and giggled my whole way through the story.
I can see that.
It was like Maxine moved into my imagination and started rearranging the furniture, and there was nothing I could do about it. And I know other writers have had that same sort of experience with characters where they just sort of come alive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's what happened with the story for me. Yeah.
And so I love it. And so as she is just, and she's this wonderfully, she's got gumption, right? Like she's this character that just, you can't help but want to know what is going to happen and some of just her choices and how is this going to turn out for her? So yeah, she's a character that you love to follow. And so, and I have to mention this beautiful cover. I'm going to hold it up for anybody watching the live stream. So tell us about the cover. Did you have any say in that? Was that something your publisher completely did, or did they give you any opportunity to give input?
Well, Enclave did it. They hired the same cover artist that they did for Operation Grendel. But one thing they do that's kind of cool is they ask for a 10-page list of things that will help them with things like the cover. And so I gave them I tried to give a brain dump of different images and ideas. And Kirk DuPont, who did the cover of both books, I just think did a fabulous job.
Yes.
One thing he did for me is he read both books. Like he reads the books before he does the covers.
Oh, and, wonderful.
Most cover artists don't do that. They
right.
don't have time.
That's true.
But yeah, he just, his way of doing things is awesome. And he took some of the images that I suggested and came up with that. I don't know where it came from other than his mind.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And his ability as a cover artist. But yeah, it's to me, it captures the flavor of the book.
Very much. Well. Yeah. Even her messenger bag, he added that detail, which is pretty fun. And so, so the last guest we were just talking to, Lewis Knight, he's an independent author, does his own publishing. So you're going through a traditional publisher. Can you tell us a little bit, is this is your second novel with this particular publisher, or have they published several of your novels?
This is my second one with Enclave. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how has that experience been with them? Obviously it went well enough that you stuck with them, or was that part of the initial contract?
No, the initial contract was just for Operation Grendel. I really like Enclave. It's a small publisher, but not tiny. I mean, they have a great team, and I'm not trying to just promote the publisher, but like they in their approach to publishing books is actually an editorial team where it goes through different rounds of editorial pushback and polishing, and you get different eyes on a manuscript, and they'll catch things you missed. They do a fantastic job with that, but they also do a fantastic job with just supporting the book. As an author, you want your ideas known and you want help. Most publishers want help from their authors too, but the other way around is really important, that they understand what you're trying to do, that they don't try to take over the thing, but come alongside and say, no, we know where you're going and we can help you do this. And so that's part of the partnership of working with a traditional publisher. It's not always the right move for every author, or every book, but I've been really happy with Enclave. Yeah, they've done a good job of promotion and of saying, we believe in what you're doing and the way you write and all that. So I've been grateful for them. Yeah.
And so it reminds me, because I got to meet some of the people through the Realm Makers conference that were there with Enclave. Will you be there this coming July for their next conference?
Probably not. I'm hoping, but I'm actually under contract for a different book and trying to get it finished by the end of the summer, and I'm trying to block out every distraction.
Okay. So under a deadline. And tell me, are we allowed to know what this other book is you're working on?
Well, I mean, I guess I haven't told anybody this, but it's actually a sequel to Maxine Justice.
I was hoping you were going to say that. That's what I was hoping.
She won't move out of my imagination. She moved in and she won't go away. So.
I am so glad, because I got to the end of the book and I was like, I really hope there's a sequel coming, because there's a couple. I mean, it's a very complete story, but there are a couple threads. We got to talk about the cat.
Yeah, Oliver Wendell Holmes. Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver Wendell is still out there. So I hope we're going to have some kind of resolution with book 2 with Oliver Wendell.
That is actually the number one thing. I've had so many people tell me in person and by email, what happens to the cat? You have to write another book to tell us what happens to the cat. It's not Maxine, it's the cat. It just has surprised me how invested people are in her whole need for her cat. And
yes.
I'm going to have to do it or I'm going to be in trouble with readers.
Yeah. Okay. So I can see why this is the book that you're focused on, not necessarily able to do a lot of traveling over the summer. You've got to get this one out so that your readers stop dogging you about the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the story. So we've got Maxine, who is just this wonderful, delightful character that we get to follow, and essentially it is a first contact story. But you're, as a reader, the title is probably the big giveaway. But I will say, Maxine doesn't know at the beginning that she actually is talking to aliens. So how did you, let's just, without getting into too many spoilers, how did you decide where that thread was going and the point where she does end up, she comes to a realization? The only spoiler I'll give is there is a spaceship. We get to see a spaceship. So that's the point where she's like, oh, okay, for sure. Like if there was any remaining question, and she does come to a point because of what's going on with the serum as well. So there comes a point where we do the first contact. What were some of your ideas for what that was going to look like? Because I want to let readers explore this obviously on their own, but just some of your thoughts of, what does first contact look like in these different contexts? How did you come up with your own from this book?
Yeah, well, I've read a lot of science fiction. I love first contact stories. I love kind of war of the world type situations and military sci-fi, obviously. But in this one, I really wanted it to be believable in the sense that readers, to get lost in the story on its own terms. That was, my goal was, what would a lawyer buy? And so if a lawyer who's even someone like Maxine, who's young and is punching up and kind of has the human system against her for various reasons, what would she think when approached by extraterrestrials? And I just couldn't imagine making them something that you could see in Star Trek where there's tentacles or something like that. I couldn't imagine that being the book and having it be deceptive. Like, there'd have to be some reason that people don't take the aliens seriously enough.
Right. Yeah.
And so, okay, so if you back up a little bit, you go, well, this is a lawyer. Why does she take them seriously enough to take the contract, but also not serious enough to look for the hidden problem with the contract, where she would miss it? Does that make sense? So,
yes, yeah.
So my explanation is that she thinks they're crackpots.
Yep.
Which is, I think, would be the thing most humans would do. They would go, these people are nuts. But they're rich crackpots, and she needs the money because she's down on her luck in many different ways. And that actually provided me the perfect excuse for them picking her. They're going to go after someone that they can manipulate, exploit, and who won't take them seriously in the ways they need to be taken seriously. So that's the justification before it.
Okay. Yes. And for those who haven't read the book yet, it'll all make sense when you get reading. You're going to love it. So let's talk about the audiobook. So there is an audio version of this as well. So it's print, ebook, audiobook, basically all the formats. Have you had an opportunity to listen to any of the audio?
I have, actually. Yes. I tend to, once I'm done with the book, I tend to not want to go back and reread it because you spend so long, so many different versions of it as you're rewriting and revising and editing. With this one, the audiobook it's produced by Oasis, which is the parent company of Enclave, and they do a really good job picking narrators. So I don't really have a say in any of that.
Okay.
But Amy Lilly's delivery on this, they sent me the first chapter. The first version, before it was released, they said, "Here, we picked Amy Lilly. Check and give this a listen." And I loved it. It was exactly. I don't know how they found her. I don't know how she picked up on what I wanted the vibe to be, but she just nailed. In my opinion, she nailed it. And so actually, I mean, it took me a while. I had to get some distance between the story and my life. But,
Sure.
Eventually, I think all the way back from Realm Makers last year, I finally listened to the audiobook. And I was just thrilled with the way she handled it and delivered it. So,
and that
she's a perfect choice.
That definitely speaks to your writing as well. When there's excellent writing for an audiobook narrator to sink their teeth into, and they have the voice is so strong, she was able to just find how she was going to do it and go with it. So I love hearing that you were so satisfied with how that came out as the author. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the fun sci-fi elements in this. We've got Wentworth is a robot judge. We've got Counselor Singh, who is called a theropod / pasteroid. Talk a little bit about these guys. Those are some just good place to start. I feel like we could talk a lot just about those two.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was one of the characters that just appeared in my imagination. Pasteroid just made me laugh. It was going to be a pasteroid, and so why would he be there? Okay, court appointed counselors, but why is the judge an Autobot judge, trialbot judge? And that one thing I love about science fiction is you can turn our expectations on their head. And it occurred to me that one of the fun things about this world would be that the exploration of how we might offload the most difficult things, the things that would seem like they'd be best done by a human, we might actually offload those because we're so resistant to them. So what would be the things that would be the least intuitive roles that you would want for androids, for AI-driven robots, human lookalikes? And it's counseling, psychologists, therapists, and judges in the judicial system. You can say we want the judges, we want it to be AI driven so that we remove any taint of human bias. And also in counseling, you want to remove the counselor from the equation as much as possible. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm saying these are justifications that are possible in a science fiction world. And also it struck me as perfect excuse for a lot of the jokes. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be turning everything on its head and giving me reasons to explore through comedy, through satire, the corruption of the legal system, the corruption of the medical industry, even places that everyone, we might agree there tends to be corruption and everything. So bringing in some of these android characters might provide an opportunity to indirectly comment on those things.
Oh, yes. I love it. And the Counselor Singh, he just becomes quite the character. I mean, in many ways, he feels very human as we follow along, and he ends up kind of side by side with Maxine for the majority of the last half of the book, or last maybe quarter of the book. And she grows quite attached to him, which is very interesting. And he's Bible quoting, he gives advice, and there's a moment where he talks about choosing to believe. And that's a really interesting idea. Can artificial intelligence do that? That's a philosophical, rhetorical question, and I'm not sure it's one that any of us can answer. But when we were just chatting with the previous author, he does some art does graphics for his different books with Midjourney, which is an AI generative art form. Yeah. So another way to put that, it's an algorithm. We don't call that sentience. Right. We don't call that, it's not directing itself. There's algorithm directing it. But when we're talking about what this character, Counselor Singh, the pasteroid, there's almost this question as a reader in my mind of, okay, are we supposed to think he's actually sentient? And I'm not sure that has to have a definitive answer, or if you have an answer in your mind. Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing is I wanted to explore that question. That's really old. It's an older question than people assume. And I would say it goes back to the archetypal kind of robot character, which is way older than robots. I mean, you go back to the Golem, the clay man with the scroll in his head. Terry Pratchett actually uses that in some of his fiction. But this idea that you can that humans could create another form of humanity that would be part of something we created, and yet it's just not human, and yet it's revealing something about humanity because of its proximity to us.
Yes.
And so the difference actually reveals something about who we are. And that comes into science fiction almost immediately with, Frankenstein. I mean, we're asking questions about what makes us human. And so what better character to do that, again, sort of unintuitively, than a character who looks like a human but isn't a human in the same way because they're created by us. So it's a tradition in science fiction that is worth exploring, and especially when you're able to joke about it.
Absolutely. Yes. And you do such an excellent job with it. At the end of the book, I was thinking, this book is asking all the right questions. I mean, that's what I kind of came away with, and it's a great brain teaser, and it's and then you still just want to know, well, what's going to happen with this after all is said and done? What's coming next? And so, but we're not going to give spoilers. We're going to let people read. So if you have social media, website, would you share that with our listeners so that they can follow you, they can find your website, see where your books are?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is danschwabauer.com. So DANSCHWABAUER.com. I'm also probably most active on Instagram, some on Facebook, though not a lot lately. So I'm buried in writing this current project, and I tend to be kind of reclusive when I'm in the middle of a project. So,
understandably, yes. Yeah. You're plugging away, and so that the reader can get that next book in their hands. And so are there other novels that you want to mention that you have out there? Because I think I saw you had some possibly YA or maybe short stories.
I do have. There's a YA series, The Legends of Tyranor. The first book is Runt the Brave. And these are a bit older, but they're still, still out there on Amazon, etc. Runt the Brave, Runt the Hunted, The Curse of the Seer. They're mid-grade and YA fantasy series. But kind of my first foray into this.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Daniel, it has been such a delight to have you back on the show. And I can tell you, when Maxine Justice, the sequel, is complete, I will be getting my hands on that, and we will be sure to have you back so we can talk about that one and find out what happens to Oliver Wendell, the cat.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It's always a delight talking to you.
You as well. So thank you again so much, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye now. All right. Well, oh my goodness. It was so fun to talk to both of them, Louis Knight and Daniel Schwabauer. All kinds of science fiction. I love how Daniel brought that up, just the different things that science fiction brings to mind, the different thought-provoking discussions that come from it. It is such an important genre. I think that's why I'm so drawn to it, because we look ahead to what could be coming and try to see if we can steer things in a better direction. And so as authors, as readers, I hope you will keep working on your own book. If you're a reader, I hope you'll pick up Maxine Justice, Galactic Attorney, and Louis Knight's Haven World series. And I am Bria Burton. You can find all my writing at briaburton.com. And it's been an absolute pleasure to spend this sci-fi hour with you, dear listeners. So be sure to tune in on Thursday when Joy on Paper is back at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.